across this book, and you took it to Scorsese.
Yeah, Marty and I were working on a project before that Jane and I had sort of gotten along with Marty, and I don't know how long we were doing that, a year or two before or whatever. And then, so we were finally committed to doing this about an aging hitman out here in the West Coast. And so Marty started showing me like this old Jean Gabin film, black and white, and sort of looking for what style he was going to do it in. It was a different type of thing, a genre type film, and we were happy to be working together. And I said, well, I have to read this book that I spoke with Eric Roth about a couple of years earlier when it came out, and it's called I Heard You Paint Houses. And so I said, let me read it and see. There might be a lot of good research material here. And then I read it, and I said to Marty, I said, you got to read this book because this is, you'll see. And that's how it started.
And something that Martin, I gotta call him Martin, has said is he was surprised how emotional you got talking about it. I don't know if it was because you don't usually get emotional, or because you might not think on the surface the subject matter would make one emotional, but it is heartbreaking what becomes of this man.
Yeah, I mean, it was all there in the book, and everything. It had so many great things in it, and the way that the Frank Sheeran character talks is totally believable, totally real. The situations he describes are real, and you can't fake certain stuff. You know it's coming from a real place. And I thought it would be just for Marty and our history and doing stuff, this would be really the thing to do.
And Jane, how long have you two been collaborating now?
How long is it, Bob?
It's over 30 years.
Not, it's just 31.
It's 31.
On August 8th, it will be 32.
Wow.
Stopped counting.
Do you have like an anniversary celebration or something?
We're past that.
Thank you.
But you probably discuss a lot of projects, and did you know right away that this one was something special?
I only realized how very special it was when we were on a call with Brad Gray, Emma, Rick Yorn, Marty, and we were going to greenlight Brad Gray was about to greenlight the other film, The Winter of Frankie Machine, and Bob suggested in that call we look at this book and try to combine both projects. And that's when Brad Gray said, so you mean you want to take a Go movie and turn it into a development deal? At which point you heard everybody kind of go, and the way Bob does. And anyway, we couldn't combine it, and that's when we were fortunate enough to bring in the great Steve Zaillian, and that's when the real history of this was written.
I mean, Steve, with this story, where do you even begin? It spans decades, and there's multiple characters, and I mean, did you read the book, and are there sometimes you look at things and you're like, yeah, I can do this? Because it seems like this would be intimidating.
I think the feeling is probably, sort of like what Bob was describing, that you have a feeling for it. I mean, he read it and saw something in it for himself, and was emotionally attached to it, I think, right away. And when I read it, I probably saw different things than he saw, but I saw something in it that I felt that I could do. And Bob mentioned the language of it. A lot of the book is written in first person, which is taken from interviews from Frank Sheeran. There's something very convincing and fascinating about his voice and his meter and his sort of idiosyncratic language, which is all in the film. I mean, a lot of the voiceover, is straight from Frank Sheeran. And anyway, I have a sense of it, whatever I work on, I have a sense of whether I think I can do it or not, and I did with this.
I know that you guys, I've talked to both Martin Scorcese and his editor, Thelma Schoonmaker, and I know that they didn't necessarily set out to make a 3.5-hour movie. It was just, I mean, when you see it, there's nothing you would cut, really. But I'm curious with your script, how long was it originally, and where did you even begin when you knew you can't write the whole book?
No, you can't write the whole book, and I really focus most of the action in a 20-year period, and then maybe like the last 30 minutes of the film is after that.
Yeah.
But it is pretty self-contained. I mean, the script I think was about 140 pages.
Oh, wow. And Emma, everyone here has had the honor of collaborating with Martin Scorcese before, but I have to imagine, did he bring this project to you, and do you even have to think when it's Martin Scorsese, or is it just an instant yes?
Oh, no, I mean, I work with him, I've worked with him for 17 years, so we're partnered, and I don't, this is gonna sound wrong, I don't really have a choice, but I'm delighted to not have a choice and to be there for him, and so, yeah, no, I'm at the ready always for when, especially with Bob and Jane and Steve, yeah.
And aside from the obvious talent, what really excited you about this project?
Oh, aside from the story and the character of Frank, but also Marty's love for this character and this story and his enthusiasm and his, he was committed from the beginning, and you know, he has an infectious energy about him, especially when he's passionate about something. So it's really great, and that just pulls you right in.
Can you talk from a producer standpoint, the three of you, about, you know, it seems like this would be an easy sell. It's Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci.
You
And
think?
yeah, and I'm surprised, but I'm not that. Apparently this was a bit of a difficult sell.
12 years worth of a difficult sell. When you think that Scorsese and De Niro have a certain brand and that it's the gangster genre with a Steve Zaillian script, you'd think, okay, I can get this made like that.
Bidding war, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was rather surprising, sometimes shocking, that it went through every studio, every different kind of iteration. Emma and I did umpteen different budgets on it and couldn't get made, but we'll say the one person who is the most diligent, passionate, and talked about it every opportunity, who was in front of the press, or every opportunity was Bob, and constantly talking about we were going to make this movie, and I think just literally willed it into production.
Well,